Hello, everyone. I never thought I'd be here, reaching out to strangers on the internet for guidance. But here we are. My wife and I have been together for 10 years, married for 8. We met in college and were each other's first and only. I always believed we had a unique and beautiful relationship because of that, but it appears that was just me. Some time ago, my wife Emma started working at a new company in Brooksville. At first, she found it difficult to fit in because she'd always been reserved. But after my encouragement, she made friends with a group of girls, some of whom were single, divorced, or dating but not married. Initially, I was happy she made friends, but then she started going out for drinks, partying, or engaging in other activities her friends planned. I grew concerned about her behavior change and tried to talk to her about it. But at the same time, I didn't want to restrict her in any way. Her new lifestyle began to affect our relationship in the bedroom. Emma wasn't one to initiate intimacy, but with her continued outings, she was either too tired or just not in the mood. Around this time, her company got a new manager, Mark, whom Emma and her friends took a liking to. She began mentioning him in passing, but it reached a point where she was pointing out how he handled problems that didn't seem work-related. I questioned her fascination with this man, but she brushed off my concerns. She even started asking if I regretted not having more experience with women, to which I said no because she was all I ever needed. For a moment, I thought I saw a flash of sadness in her eyes, but she quickly changed the subject. Soon, she started mentioning open marriages as a way to spice up our relationship. I was taken aback because Emma had never been that kind of person and was not that liberal sexually. To be honest, I first refused and questioned if this had anything to do with Mark, to which she denied but said she felt like she missed out. At the same time, she didn't want to lose me, so she thought this was a safer option. I wondered if she was playing with fire, but reluctantly and naively I agreed. We set some rules, mainly not to sleep with another person in our home. So for a year, Emma went on dates and had one-night stands. Somehow she ended up in a relationship with Mark. I, on the other hand, had a few dates but no one-night stands because it frequently felt wrong to me. Emma would ask if I was fine, but she wouldn't change her behavior. At some point, I felt the love I had for her, that pure, special innocence of marriage, was gone, and it was killing me inside. Eventually, I went on a date with an amazing woman, Sarah, who had migrated from South Korea. Conversation was effortless. She had the wit of a lightning-fast whip crack and a smile that could make anyone forget themselves. This, of course, led to more dates until we were intimate. I honestly never had sex like I did with Sarah. I never knew a woman could be so giving and make one feel so desirable. At first, Emma thought it was cute, but as the months went by, she began questioning my relationship with Sarah. I promptly pointed out that this was her idea and that she was in a relationship with Mark, the manager I was concerned about. She was silent, looked like she wanted to say something, but held her tongue. Emma began coming home early to surprise me with dinner and kept the house extra clean. She started coming to my workplace to drop off lunch and began to initiate intimacy in the bedroom. Honestly, if it wasn't for her opening up our marriage, which I am also to blame for agreeing to, all this would have had me jumping for joy. I barely gave in to her attempts at intimacy, and when I did, it was simply to get it over with. Something in me towards my wife had died, and I could see she felt it too. I asked what brought on this change in her. What was different? She responded that she wanted to show me that she loves me and is happy with me. I never intended to, but I burst out laughing. I asked, "What about your little group of friends, your manager lover, or your one-night stands?" She didn't respond that day and simply went to bed in tears. The next day, I got home to find her waiting for me. She told me she wanted to close our marriage, that this whole experience was a horrible mistake, and that she regrets everything and wants us to be the focus of our relationship again. I told her to be honest with me and explain what inspired all this in the first place. Wouldn't you know it? It was her group of friends who planted the idea because of their numerous sexual exploits. When Mark came around, he surprisingly supported that lifestyle and encouraged Emma to live freely. It developed into an emotional affair and only got physical once our marriage opened. Wow, that makes it better. She described it as being drunk behind the wheel of a speeding car, thrilling and intoxicating. but the price of the decision had become too much for her to bear. She saw now that she never needed a comparison, and that what we had was truly unique and special. But now she felt like she had murdered our marriage and any chance of a life together. I told her I might not ever be able to see her as my wife again, and this made her break down in front of me. I simply held her in silence as she cried until she fell asleep in my arms on the couch. She has since left her job, cut off contact with all her friends and Mark, and even told me she's willing to spend the rest of her life making it up to me and working her fingers to the bone to be seen as a wife by me. But I haven't cut contact with Sarah. Sarah, quite frankly, makes me feel like a man, like I can challenge the world. And Emma hasn't in a while. Truth is, I don't know what to do in this situation. I would love to get the special feeling back if possible. Sarah saved me when I was at my lowest. A few days later, we had our first marriage counseling session. The therapist seemed nice and experienced, appearing unbiased and eager to help. Even though it was our first session, Emma took it as an opportunity to lay everything out. She confessed that her group of friends made her wonder if she had missed out on experiences because she was committed to her first boyfriend and had no other experiences. She never had the same adventures some of these supposedly amazing women had, some of whom were divorced, but none married. The therapist pointed out that this mindset could be detrimental to a marriage, which Emma seemed to agree with. She added that after Mark, the new manager, started approaching her, some of her friends encouraged her to see where it went, saying it was a chance for her to explore and discover herself. Feeling guilty, she says, she never did anything physical until one of her divorced friends suggested an open marriage as a loophole, claiming that some couples come out stronger because of it. Regrettably, she convinced me to open our marriage, and her so-called adventure began. It was intoxicating and blinding, but lacked real substance, not like what we built over the years. She started to question her reasons for doing this when she saw the hurt in my eyes, but told herself it was just an adventure. She said she'd never forgive herself for this. The gravity of it all never really hit her until she noticed a change in me. At first, she assumed because I went on dates, I would gradually accept her situation and be okay with it. But everything changed when Sarah became a constant presence in my life. Emma noticed how I started to smile again for no reason, how my eyes would light up when I received a text message, or how I cheerfully left the room to answer a call. She suddenly felt a pit in her stomach and started to get panic attacks for no reason. Emma went to her friends for advice again, but they said my reaction was normal during this adventure. However, when the same divorced friend who suggested the open marriage said it looked like Sarah made me happy, reality finally dawned on her. The very real possibility that another woman, not her, gave me joy almost made her pass out. She realized how ridiculous this all was and begged her friends to help her win me back, but they just told her if she couldn't deal with it, she shouldn't have opened her marriage in the first place. That was when she knew these people were toxic and a threat to our marriage and the life we had built. Hence, she's been on a mission to win me back by any means necessary. During the session, I didn't share much, but did let the counselor know about Sarah still being in the picture. The counselor said no resolution could ever be reached with my lover still involved, and suggested we book another appointment. She also mentioned that it was unusual for someone to stay with their first love this long, and implied that any storm could be weathered. I highly suspect she wants us to be one of her success stories. The following day, Emma made an effort to spend more time at home. She cooked breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and tried to engage me in conversations about anything and everything. Despite her efforts, I remained distant, unsure of how to process my feelings. Our second counseling session was scheduled, and I dreaded it. I didn't know what more could be said to fix the damage done. During the session, the therapist encouraged us to be open and honest. Emma admitted that her actions were a desperate attempt to experience what she thought she was missing. She confessed that the emotional affair with Mark started because he showed interest in her, and her friends egged her on. She was blinded by the thrill and novelty of it all, but it lacked the depth of our relationship. I shared my side, explaining how the entire experience left me feeling betrayed and hurt, and how Sarah helped me regain my self-worth. The therapist pointed out that for us to move forward, Emma needed to understand the consequences of her actions fully. Emma cried, acknowledging that she had been selfish and short-sighted. She apologized profusely, saying she would do anything to make amends. The therapist suggested we focus on rebuilding trust through small, consistent actions. After the session, Emma and I had a long talk. She reiterated her desire to make things right, but I remained skeptical. Trust isn't something that can be restored overnight. It's earned through time and consistent behavior. Emma promised to cut off all contact with her friends and Mark, emphasizing that she was willing to do whatever it took to save our marriage. As days turned into weeks, Emma made noticeable efforts to change. She resigned from her job, distancing herself from the toxic influences. She enrolled in individual counseling to work on her issues and joined a support group for spouses who had hurt their partners. Despite her efforts, my connection with Sarah continued to grow. Sarah was a beacon of hope during my darkest days, and letting go of her seemed impossible. One evening, while Emma was preparing dinner, I received a call from Sarah. She could sense the turmoil in my voice and offered to meet up to talk. I agreed, needing someone to confide in. We met at a quiet cafe in downtown New Haven, and I poured my heart out to her. Sarah listened patiently, offering comfort and understanding. She never pressured me to choose her over Emma, but she made it clear that she wanted to be with me. Returning home that night, I found Emma waiting for me with a hopeful look in her eyes. She had prepared a special dinner, hoping to rekindle our connection. We sat down to eat, but the atmosphere was tense. Emma sensed my hesitation and asked if I had met with Sarah. I nodded, and a look of sadness crossed her face. She didn't say anything, but the pain in her eyes was evident. After dinner, Emma asked me to join her for a walk. As we strolled through the park, she opened up about her fears and regrets. She acknowledged that she had pushed me away and that my relationship with Sarah was a consequence of her actions. She begged for another chance, promising to be the wife I deserved. I listened, torn between my loyalty to Emma and my growing feelings for Sarah. The walk ended in silence, both of us lost in our thoughts. Emma went to bed early, leaving me alone in the living room. I sat there for hours, contemplating my next move. The situation was complicated, and no matter what I decided, someone would get hurt. I needed more time to think, sort through my feelings, and figure out what I truly wanted. In the days following that emotional evening, I felt increasingly torn between my obligations to Emma and my growing affection for Sarah. Emma's efforts to repair our marriage continued unabated. She went out of her way to show her love and commitment, trying to recreate the warmth and connection we once shared. But despite her best efforts, the scars of betrayal ran deep, and I found it difficult to let go of the hurt and resentment. Our counseling sessions became more intense. The therapist encouraged us to delve into the underlying issues that led to our current predicament. Emma confessed that she had always struggled with self-worth and had used the excitement of the open marriage as a misguided way to validate herself. She explained how Mark and her friends had exploited these insecurities, leading her down a path that nearly destroyed our marriage. During one session, the therapist asked Emma to describe her feelings when she first realized the extent of the damage she had caused. Emma broke down in tears, recounting the moment she overheard Mark's conversation about her. The realization that she was nothing more than a pleasant distraction to him shattered her illusions. She admitted that hearing Mark's true feelings made her understand how deeply she had hurt me. As Emma spoke, I could see the genuine remorse in her eyes. It was clear that she was truly sorry for what she had done, and I could tell that she was committed to making amends. However, despite her sincerity, my doubts remained. I found it difficult to reconcile the woman who had betrayed me with the woman who was now begging for my forgiveness. Outside of therapy, Sarah continued to be a source of support and comfort. Our connection deepened with each passing day, and I found myself relying on her more and more. She understood my pain and offered a sense of stability that I desperately needed. However, the closer I grew to Sarah, the more complicated my situation became. I knew that continuing my relationship with Sarah while trying to repair my marriage was unfair to both women, but I couldn't bring myself to make a definitive choice. One evening, as I was preparing to leave for another meeting with Sarah, Emma confronted me. She had noticed the frequency of our meetings and could no longer contain her jealousy and fear. She asked me directly if I was in love with Sarah. Her question caught me off guard, and for a moment I didn't know how to respond. Seeing the anguish in her eyes, I admitted that I had developed strong feelings for Sarah, but I didn't know if it was love. Emma's face crumpled with pain, but she composed herself and asked if I could at least consider taking a break from seeing Sarah to focus on our marriage. She suggested a trial separation where we could both reflect on our relationship without outside influences. Though hesitant, I agreed, recognizing that something needed to change if we were to have any hope of rebuilding our marriage. We informed the therapist of our decision, and she supported the idea, suggesting that we use the time apart to work on ourselves individually. Emma moved in with her sister while I stayed at our home. The separation was difficult, but it provided the space we both needed to process our emotions and gain clarity on what we wanted for the future. During this time, I continued my counseling sessions. I delved into my feelings of betrayal and anger, trying to understand why Emma's actions had hurt me so deeply. I realized that my sense of self-worth had been closely tied to our relationship, and Emma's betrayal had shattered my confidence. The therapist helped me see that I needed to rebuild my self-esteem independently of my marriage. Emma, on the other hand, worked tirelessly on her issues. She attended therapy sessions, joined support groups, and read countless books on relationships and personal growth. She was determined to become a better person, not just for me, but for herself. Despite our separation, we maintained open lines of communication, discussing our progress and the challenges we faced. The weeks turned into months, and slowly, I began to notice a change in Emma. She seemed more confident, more self-assured. She had developed a sense of independence that hadn't been there before. It was clear that she was no longer the same person who had been easily swayed by her friends and Mark. She had grown and matured, and I found myself admiring her resilience and determination. During one of our conversations, Emma suggested that we go on a date, just the two of us, to see if we could reconnect on a deeper level. I was hesitant at first, unsure if I was ready to take that step, but after much contemplation, I agreed. We chose a quiet restaurant in a nearby town, hoping to avoid any familiar faces. The evening started awkwardly, but as we talked, the old familiarity between us began to resurface. We reminisced about our early days together, sharing memories and laughter. It was the first time in a long while that I felt a glimmer of the connection we once had. Emma opened up about her journey of self-discovery, sharing the insights she had gained through therapy and her support group. I could see the genuine effort she had put into changing and the sincerity in her desire to make things right. As the night progressed, I found myself softening towards Emma. Her vulnerability and honesty touched me, and I began to see her not just as the woman who had betrayed me, but as someone who had made a terrible mistake and was trying to atone for it. The walls I had built around my heart started to crack, and I allowed myself to entertain the possibility of forgiveness. Returning home that night, I felt a mixture of emotions: hope, fear, confusion. The date had gone better than I had expected, but I still had a long way to go before I could fully trust Emma again. We decided to continue our trial separation while exploring the possibility of reconciliation. It was a slow and delicate process, requiring patience and understanding from both of us. Throughout this period, Sarah remained in the background, respecting my decision to focus on my marriage. We kept in touch sporadically, but I made it clear that I needed space to figure things out. Sarah understood and supported me even though it was difficult for both of us. As Emma and I continued to work on our relationship, the small moments of connection became more frequent. We started spending more time together, going on walks, cooking meals, and even revisiting some of our favorite activities from the past. Each interaction was a step towards rebuilding the trust that had been broken. One day, Emma surprised me with a heartfelt letter, detailing her journey and her hopes for our future. In it, she acknowledged the pain she had caused and expressed her unwavering commitment to making amends. She wrote about the lessons she had learned and the person she was striving to become. Reading her words, I felt a surge of emotion. It was clear that she had changed, and her sincerity moved me deeply. Despite the progress we were making, I knew that the road to reconciliation would be long and challenging. There were still moments of doubt and fear, and the scars of betrayal would not easily fade. But for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of hope, a belief that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. The journey toward reconciliation reached its pivotal moment during a counseling session that took an unexpected turn. The therapist asked us to participate in an exercise designed to foster empathy and understanding. We were instructed to write letters to each other, expressing our deepest fears, hopes, and feelings about our relationship. These letters were to be read aloud during the session. The following week, we arrived at the therapist's office, each clutching our letters with a mix of apprehension and resolve. Emma went first. Her hands trembled slightly as she unfolded the paper, but her voice was steady as she began to read. She spoke of her guilt, her remorse, and the deep-seated insecurities that had led her to make such disastrous choices. She described how the thrill of her adventure quickly turned into a nightmare, and how every encounter with Mark left her feeling more empty and ashamed. She acknowledged the pain she had caused and pleaded for forgiveness, not as a way to erase the past, but as a step toward a better future. Emma's letter was heartfelt and raw, and as she read, tears streamed down her face. Her vulnerability was palpable, and for the first time I saw the extent of her suffering. When she finished, the room was silent, except for her quiet sobs. The therapist allowed the moment to linger, letting the weight of Emma's words sink in. Then, it was my turn. I took a deep breath and began to read my letter. I spoke of my shattered trust, the nights I spent tormented by thoughts of her and Mark, and the deep wound her actions had inflicted on my heart. I confessed that Sarah had become a lifeline for me, helping me navigate the darkest period of my life. I also acknowledged the changes I had seen in Emma and how her efforts to make amends had not gone unnoticed. I expressed my desire for healing, but also my fear that the damage might be too great to overcome. As I read, I could see Emma's reaction, her eyes filled with regret and a glimmer of hope. The therapist encouraged us to reflect on each other's words and to use them as a foundation for rebuilding our relationship. It was clear that this session marked a turning point, a moment where we both laid bare our souls in a bid for understanding and reconciliation. Following that session, our interactions took on a new level of sincerity. We continued our trial separation, but with a renewed sense of purpose. Emma and I communicated more openly, sharing our thoughts and feelings without the barriers that had previously held us back. We scheduled more dates, each one bringing us a little closer to the connection we once had. One evening, during a particularly candid conversation, Emma suggested we take a weekend trip to a small cabin in the mountains, a place where we had shared many happy memories early in our relationship. She believed that revisiting this special place could help us reconnect on a deeper level. I agreed, hoping that the change of scenery and the nostalgia would indeed help us mend the rift between us. The drive to the cabin was filled with a mix of anticipation and nervousness. We listened to some of our favorite songs from the past, and for a moment, it felt like old times. When we arrived, the sight of the familiar surroundings brought a flood of memories. We spent the first day hiking through the forest, enjoying the tranquility and the beauty of nature. The simplicity of the environment allowed us to focus on each other without the distractions of everyday life. That evening, as we sat by the fireplace, Emma took my hand and looked into my eyes. She spoke of her love for me and her unwavering commitment to rebuilding our marriage. She acknowledged that the road ahead would be difficult, but promised to stand by me every step of the way. I felt a surge of emotion and realized that despite everything, a part of me still loved her deeply. I admitted my own mistakes and fears and expressed my hope that we could find a way to move forward together. The trip was a turning point in our relationship. We returned home with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. Emma continued to show her commitment through small, consistent actions, making me breakfast, leaving me thoughtful notes, and planning surprise outings. I, too, made an effort to be more present and engaged, allowing myself to believe in the possibility of a new beginning. However, the presence of Sarah continued to complicate matters. I had maintained a respectful distance from her during the trial separation, but the feelings I had for her were still very much alive. I knew that to truly give my marriage a chance, I needed to make a difficult decision. I arranged to meet Sarah one last time, to explain the situation, and to thank her for everything she had done for me. We met at the same cafe in New Haven where we had shared so many heartfelt conversations. Sarah listened quietly as I explained my decision to focus on my marriage. She understood, though I could see the sadness in her eyes. She told me that she only wanted what was best for me, and that she would always cherish the time we had spent together. We parted on good terms, and I left with a heavy heart, knowing that I had lost someone very special. Back home, I told Emma about my meeting with Sarah. She appreciated my honesty and understood the difficulty of my decision. This transparency brought us even closer, as it demonstrated our mutual commitment to healing and rebuilding our relationship. The weeks that followed were filled with ups and downs. There were moments of joy and connection, as well as moments of doubt and tension. But through it all, Emma and I remained committed to each other and to our shared goal of rebuilding our marriage. We continued our counseling sessions, using the tools and techniques we learned to navigate the challenges we faced. Slowly but surely, trust began to be restored. The scars of betrayal remained, but they no longer defined our relationship. Instead, they became reminders of our resilience and our ability to overcome adversity. We found new ways to connect, discovering activities and interests that brought us closer together. One day, Emma surprised me with a small handwritten book titled Our Journey. It was filled with memories of our relationship, from the early days of college to the present. She had written about our struggles, our triumphs, and her hopes for the future. Reading through it, I felt a deep sense of gratitude and love. It was a testament to our journey and a symbol of our commitment to each other. As the months went by, Emma and I continued to rebuild our lives together. The process was slow and often painful, but the small victories along the way gave us hope. We began to develop new routines, focusing on activities that brought us joy and helped strengthen our bond. We rediscovered our love for cooking, spending evenings in the kitchen experimenting with new recipes and savoring the simple pleasure of sharing a meal. Our communication improved significantly. We made a conscious effort to be open and honest with each other, discussing our feelings and concerns without fear of judgment. This newfound transparency helped to restore some of the trust that had been lost. While there were still moments of doubt and insecurity, we learned to navigate them together, leaning on each other for support. Emma continued her counseling, which played a crucial role in her personal growth. She became more self-aware, understanding the root causes of her actions and working diligently to address them. Her dedication to self-improvement was evident in her daily behavior, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in the progress she was making. I also remained committed to my therapy, focusing on rebuilding my self-esteem and understanding the impact of the betrayal on my emotional well-being. My therapist helped me to see that forgiveness was not just about Emma, but also about finding peace within myself. I learned that holding on to anger and resentment would only hinder my healing process. Despite the progress we were making, the memories of Sarah lingered. I often found myself thinking about her and the role she had played in my life during those dark times. While I had ended our relationship to focus on my marriage, I couldn't deny the positive impact she had on my journey toward healing. I decided to reach out to Sarah one last time, not to rekindle our relationship, but to express my gratitude for her support and to find closure. We met at a quiet park, away from the bustling city. Sarah greeted me with a warm smile, and we sat on a bench overlooking a serene lake. I thanked her for being there for me when I needed it most and for helping me find the strength to move forward. Sarah listened patiently, and though there was a hint of sadness in her eyes, she assured me that she understood my decision. We parted ways amicably, and I felt a sense of closure that had eluded me for so long. Back home, I shared my meeting with Emma. She appreciated my honesty and expressed her gratitude for Sarah's role in my healing. This openness further strengthened our bond, and we both felt a renewed sense of commitment to each other. As we continued to work on our relationship, we decided to renew our wedding vows. It was Emma's idea, a symbolic gesture to mark our new beginning. We planned a small, intimate ceremony with close friends and family. The preparations brought us closer, as we reflected on our journey and the love that had endured despite the challenges. The day of the ceremony was beautiful, filled with emotions and memories. Standing before our loved ones, we exchanged vows that were more meaningful than ever before. We promised to cherish each other, to communicate openly, and to never take our relationship for granted again. The vows were a testament to our resilience and the strength of our love. The ceremony was followed by a small reception at a charming countryside inn. Surrounded by our closest friends and family, we celebrated our renewed commitment to each other. It was a day of joy and laughter, a stark contrast to the turmoil we had faced in the past. The support and love from our guests reinforced our belief that we were on the right path. As the evening came to a close, Emma and I shared a quiet moment, reflecting on how far we had come. We knew that our journey was far from over, but the progress we had made gave us hope for the future. We had faced the worst, and yet, here we were, stronger and more united than ever before. In the weeks following our vow renewal, life began to settle into a new normal. The routines we had established continued to bring us closer, and our communication remained open and honest. We made a conscious effort to prioritize our relationship, setting aside time each week for date nights and meaningful conversations. Emma and I also started volunteering together at a local community center, a shared passion that allowed us to give back and connect on a deeper level. The experience was fulfilling and brought a new dimension to our relationship. Working together towards a common goal helped us to see each other in a new light, strengthening our bond further. One day, during a quiet evening at home, Emma presented me with another heartfelt gesture. She handed me a journal she had been keeping since the beginning of our reconciliation journey. The journal was filled with her thoughts, reflections, and personal growth. Reading through it, I was moved by her dedication and the depth of her love for me. It was a tangible reminder of how far we had come and the strength of our commitment to each other. The journal inspired me to start one of my own, documenting my thoughts and feelings as we continued to navigate our new life together. The act of writing became a therapeutic outlet, helping me to process my emotions and track our progress. Emma and I would often share excerpts from our journals, further deepening our understanding and connection. As time passed, the wounds of betrayal began to heal, and the scars became less pronounced. While the memories of the past remained, they no longer held the power to hurt us. Instead, they served as reminders of our resilience and the strength of our love. We learned to appreciate the present and look forward to the future, confident in our ability to face whatever challenges came our way. Our renewed commitment to each other was tested several times, but each challenge only strengthened our bond. We faced financial struggles, health scares, and the everyday stresses of life. But we tackled them together, drawing strength from our shared experiences and the love that had endured. One particularly challenging period came when Emma's father fell seriously ill. The stress and emotional toll weighed heavily on her, but I stood by her side, offering support and comfort. The experience brought us even closer, reinforcing the importance of our partnership. We navigated the difficult days together, emerging stronger and more united. Through it all, we never lost sight of the lessons we had learned. We continued to prioritize our relationship, making time for each other and ensuring that our communication remained open and honest. We celebrated the small victories and supported each other through the tough times, always remembering the journey that had brought us to this point. As the years went by, the scars of our past became a part of our story, but they no longer defined us. Emma and I had built a new foundation for our marriage, one that was stronger and more resilient than before. We had learned to cherish each moment, to communicate openly, and to support each other unconditionally. Our renewed commitment to each other was evident in every aspect of our lives. We continued to grow both individually and as a couple, pursuing new interests and hobbies together. We traveled to places we had always dreamed of visiting, creating new memories and experiences that brought us closer. Each trip was a testament to our renewed bond, a celebration of the love that had survived the darkest of times. One significant milestone in our journey was the decision to start a family. The thought of bringing a child into our lives was both exciting and daunting, but we felt ready. The experience of trying to conceive brought its own set of challenges, but we faced them together, supporting each other through the highs and lows. When Emma finally became pregnant, it was a moment of pure joy and a testament to our resilience. Pregnancy brought us even closer as we navigated the preparations for our new addition. We attended parenting classes, decorated the nursery, and shared our hopes and dreams for our child's future. The anticipation of becoming parents was a powerful reminder of the new life we had built together. The day our daughter Lily was born was the happiest of our lives. Holding her in our arms, we felt a profound sense of gratitude and love. She was a symbol of our renewed commitment and the strength of our bond. Raising Lily brought its own set of challenges, but each one only reinforced our partnership and our dedication to each other. As Lily grew, we made a conscious effort to model a healthy, loving relationship for her. We wanted her to see the importance of communication, trust, and mutual respect. We shared our story with her in an age-appropriate way, emphasizing the lessons we had learned and the strength of our love. We hoped that our journey would inspire her to build strong, healthy relationships in her own life. Throughout this time, Emma continued her personal growth. She pursued further education, earning a degree in counseling with a focus on helping others navigate relationship challenges. Her experiences had given her a unique perspective, and she was passionate about using her knowledge to support others. Her work was deeply fulfilling, and I admired her dedication and compassion. I also found a new purpose in my career, inspired by the resilience and determination Emma had shown. I took on new projects and challenges, fueled by the confidence I had regained. Our professional successes were a reflection of the personal growth we had both achieved, and we celebrated each other's accomplishments with pride and joy. Our relationship with Sarah had also come full circle. She had moved on with her life, finding happiness with someone who appreciated her for the amazing person she was. We remained on good terms, occasionally exchanging messages and updates. Knowing that she was happy and fulfilled brought a sense of closure and peace. As we approached our 15th wedding anniversary, Emma and I decided to renew our vows once again. This time, it was a celebration not just of our love, but of the incredible journey we had taken together. We invited our closest friends and family, including those who had supported us through the toughest times. The vow renewal ceremony was held at the same mountain cabin where we had reconnected years earlier. The serene beauty of the location, coupled with the presence of our loved ones, made the day truly special. As we exchanged vows, we reflected on the trials we had faced and the strength we had found in each other. The vows were a reaffirmation of our commitment to continue growing together, to cherish each moment, and to never take our relationship for granted. Looking back on our journey, I realized how far we had come. The pain and betrayal of the past were real, but they also led us to a place of deeper understanding and love. Our relationship was not perfect, but it was resilient and grounded in a profound sense of mutual respect and trust. We had learned to navigate the challenges of life together, and our bond was stronger for it. Emma and I often reflected on the lessons we had learned. We knew that the key to a successful relationship was not the absence of conflict, but the ability to face challenges together with honesty, empathy, and love. We made a conscious effort to prioritize our relationship, to communicate openly, and to support each other unconditionally. As we celebrated our anniversary surrounded by the people who had been there for us, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. I was thankful for the love that had endured, for the growth we had experienced, and for the future we were building together. Our journey was a testament to the power of forgiveness, resilience, and the unwavering belief that true love could overcome even the greatest obstacles. Lily, now a bright and curious young girl, was a constant reminder of the joy and fulfillment our renewed relationship had brought. Watching her grow and thrive filled our hearts with pride and happiness. We were determined to provide her with a loving and supportive environment, one that would nurture her dreams and aspirations. As the years continued to pass, Emma and I remained committed to each other and to the principles that had guided us through our darkest times. Our love story was not just about overcoming betrayal, but about the continuous journey of growth, understanding, and connection. We knew that the path ahead would have its own set of challenges, but we were ready to face them together, hand in hand. In the end, our story was one of redemption and renewal. It was a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of love to heal and transform. Emma and I had found our way back to each other, and in doing so, we had discovered a deeper, more enduring love than we ever thought possible. And so our journey continued, filled with the promise of new beginnings and the unshakable belief that no matter what came our way, we would always have each other. Together, we had turned our greatest trial into our greatest triumph, and the future was bright with the light of our love.